Hello everybody and welcome back to Amity Bloom. This is the second part of the series where we go through Aurelia's story in creating 3 different types of journals. A pocket-sized one, perfect for a beginner. A mini tiny one, which is the cutest. I'm so excited for this one. To create the cover, I'm going to use the beautiful green Victorian cover that comes in the digital kit, as well as the inside scrapbook pages. The same pages that are included in the pocket kit and in the standard size, but these are just sized to be made in the mini version. I'm going to be using some little tiny file folders. Our spine is going to be made out of fabric, so I've chosen these 2. And a nice stack of tea-stained papers, ledgers, wallpaper, and music sheets to make the signature pages. I'm also going to be using some of the pages from Aurelia's paper kit. This collection has many sheets of beautiful Victorian antique styled papers. Beautiful pieces of needlepoint embroidery, floral tapestries, postcards, bird designs, some gorgeous Victorian wallpaper, and look at these birds. Oh my god, I love this paper as a background paper. This was on washi tape that we created. Gorgeous cross stitch that will soon to be washi. What we could use in this mini journal are some of the pockets and the tags that are included in this collection. Just with all of my digital collections, I always create a set of tags and a set of pockets that you can use accordingly with all of the decorative papers. Look at this beautiful little needlepoint one with the little birdies. I want to use these little pockets, trim off some pieces, and use them to create pages in this journal. So you can definitely use your tags and your pockets if you're trying to make a mini journal, and use them as the actual decorative pages to create the signatures for your book. I also have in this little bowl some sari silk, and these pieces, like this beautiful Victorian lace, are all cream or white, and I actually want to dye them. And I'm really excited because I haven't really done this before. I want to dye them with some Distress Oxide and some tea-stained water because I want to create beautiful little edges on the little mini junk journal so that it looks as if it's pieces of Aurelia's dress. Here's our sweet little Aurelia. Her dress is the most perfect little shade of like a marigold. We're definitely going to be playing around with those colors in our journal. We're going to start creating the cover. The front cover is going to be about 2, almost 3 inches. Make sure you size your file folders accordingly to the cover that you're going to be using, or if you're going to be using a scrapbook paper. In the digital, it's already sized and placed right in the center so that when you fold it, it's perfectly in the center. You can easily see where you need to trim and cut, as we are going to be cutting the cover since we're going to be giving it a thicker spine. The digital was made so that if you wanted to create just a 1 signature book using the digital pages, you can. But if you're trying to create a thicker journal like I am, you definitely should cut your cover in half. That way you can decide how big you want your spine to be. It can be as tiny as this or as large as this. Now that our journal covers have been glued, I'm going to cut along the edges so that we end up with a nice sturdy base. Here's our 2 darling little covers. Now I need to go ahead and fold my papers to start creating the inside pages. I have some papers here, some tea-stained pages, and some of them are blank, some of them have script on them, and then some of them are little receipts. I'm going to be covering some sides using parts of the scrapbook digital kit. I've been having so much fun creating the little pages to go inside of my book. There's just something so magical about finding little pieces of paper and thinking of the best ways to place them. This is a book page that was a little bit too long, and instead of cutting the edge, I decided to fold it, glue this underneath the book page, and then use this as a little flap where I can then put this vintage little piece of paper and then add some embossing paper on the top, a little butterfly, and a little sentiment so it flips out, and then you can see the Victorian page on the bottom. I could do the same thing to the back. I could play around with the little die cuts from the kit and just glue the little butterflies and make them flip out. This one is really sweet. This is some Victorian wallpaper, but the underside of it. I just loved that texture, and can you imagine some Victorian lace maybe on the corner? And then all I did is on the inside, I attached the digital kit. As I didn't really like the inside of the wallpaper, it was rusting and it didn't look as beautiful as the back. So I'm going to be using some of these pieces from the pockets, flipping them over, and I'm going to be using them to create pages. I'm going to pick and choose the wallpapers and the decorative floral papers that I think will match the rest of the compositions of the pages really well. This fabric is just so stunning. Hopefully you can see it on the table. I wrapped around the velvet and I glued it on the edge, and I think it looks so antique and so beautiful. So I have these pieces over here. I need to start playing around with the distress inks, and I want to make my little tea and coffee dye mixture to then stain all of the little fabrics that I want to use. I also have some vintage ribbon, some sari silks. I have some fabrics that I want to choose from. So I have a lot to choose from here. So I think I might pick and choose some beautiful fabric to create little flip outs and pockets for the pages as well. This is what my studio is currently looking like. A lot of fabric on this chair. I pulled out from one of my personal journals this really beautiful document. It has some of my washi tape, some of our bloom tape, and I think it matches with this journal. All of the colors. It looks very Victorian, and I think it matches really well with the cover. So here's my tea stained mixture. It doesn't look that appetizing, but luckily our papers are going to love it, hopefully. This is the Wild Honey Distressed Oxide Spray. I've never used this, believe it or not. So first time trying it is going to be with you guys. Let me know in the comments below if you used this before. I just want a little bit. Is that too much or too little? I don't know. Okay. Whoa, this looks so cool. Oh, now it looks as if we added cream to our coffee or tea. Oh, that's kind of funny. Just so that I don't sacrifice my entire lace, I'm just going to snip a little piece. Let's see how this goes. Oh, I think that's perfect. Maybe you can't see it on camera, but it's not a tea-stained color, and it's not like an orangey yellow color. And of course, I won't know until it dries. You can definitely see the difference between what we have just dyed and the original. Do you see how beautiful? It's the perfect like little tea-stained wild honey color. So I'm just going to be leaving these pieces to dry overnight. We will see exactly how they turned out. While all of my laces are drying, I'm going to be playing around with the mini ephemera pieces from Aurelia's ephemera kit. It comes together with the journal pages, so you can buy the standard one or the little tiny one. If you're unfamiliar with how to resize your digitals, it's already made for you. Our sweet Aurelia, your mini journal's almost finished. Almost. The fun part is decorating and then bringing it all together. My laces have finished drying, and I absolutely loved the color of the hankies, the laces, and the sari silk. This is what it looks like once it's been ruffled up on the edge. I'm going to be adding this little butterfly, and this is going to be a page that's going to flip over. However, when I flip it over, I don't like how the butterfly is white on the back. Obviously, this could be prevented if I printed double-sided, but if you're in the same little pickle as I am, use some tissue paper. The only part of my butterfly that's going to be exposed are the top little wings. That's exactly where I'm going to be placing the tissue paper, and then just lightly cutting around it. You could also distress it, you could also paint it. I think I'm going to include this picture of Aurelia on the back of this as a little peekaboo, because I always love including the photo of who the journal belongs to and whose story we're telling when you open the book. And I'm also going to be adding some glitter and some paint. I want her to be glistening every time we flip the sweet little page over, and hopefully you can see it in the light. You turn the page over, you can capture all of that magic of the butterfly. And then definitely I'm going to be adding it to the back as well. I think it's sweet little details like these that make our little journals come to life and truly start to tell the story that we're trying to capture. I also just finished making little Aurelia's little photo card, and then on the back I included some little mini buttons. And where it's going to flip, I added some antique lace that I think looks really well with the ruffles. So the front symbolizes the butterfly, a sense of Aurelia, her spirit. And then here's our darling Aurelia when she's all grown up. And then this is our darling Aurelia when she was little. I added a little bit of glitter on her dress and also on the purple hydrangea flower. This is so much fun working in a smaller size, but still adding all the elements that a bigger journal would have. I had an idea and I thought that since there's little yellow buttons, we could make a sweet little flip of the type of dress that Aurelia would have, like a little sample of her cloth. On my table, I have some beautiful Victorian lace. I hope you can see that. I'm saving this one for the big Aurelia journal, so I'm going to be using this little piece here. I didn't want it to be straight. I wanted it to look as if it's a piece of cloth that was taken years ago from a beautiful little dress, her childhood dress. And now all I have to do is find some sweet yellow buttons to match and stitch them right along the bottom. Here is my little button shelf. As you can see, I have many buttons there. And I think I see the perfect little yellow button. I collect so many buttons from just clothing that fall apart, from estate sales. I think this one's going to be perfect. I found the perfect little yellow buttons to attach on the side. I put all of my papers into 2 little signatures. This is so adorable. Here's my first signature, and then here is my second signature. And now I'm just adding little text spots on every page, adding some sentiments, and creating little flips so that this book is not only beautiful, but interactive and also functional. Perhaps we'll add a little bit of tatted lace in that little corner. This is so darling! Once I've decorated all the pages with lace, then I am ready to add the little ephemera pieces. So these are all of the interactive elements to the digital kit. These elements are in all of the kits. If you buy the standard version, the pocket size, or this little mini size, they're just sized differently. This is one of the ephemera pieces, which is a little purple hydrangea bush with a little butterfly. Aurelia loves yellow butterflies. This is her really sweet compact little mirror, and all you do is you glue this part to the back, fold it over, and then just trim around the excess. Don't trim it off completely because then you won't be able to flip it over. And our sweet little butterfly also folds out. Same thing with the cute little paper doll. You have your base, and then you have your little paper doll. Fold it over, glue it to the back, and then just trim a little bit around, and then you can glue this or place this wherever you'd like in your journal. This is Aurelia's little purse. It's a beautiful vintage purse, and inside of her little purse, she carries sketches of birds that she drew. What I decided to do is create another little pocket that you can attach on top of the purse, and then you have a little piece of paper that's stitched on all sides as a little note that you can then tuck right into that little pocket. And then the little birds peek out. And of course we have the sweet lace and cross stitch envelope. You get a letter that her sisters wrote to Aurelia, which fits nicely in that little pocket. And then this is the last little piece of ephemera. It's already found its sweet little home on this little pocket. But here I made a pocket just cutting a piece of the little mini pockets. These pockets that come with the tags. I just cut the top off. A little embroidery hoop with a cross-stitch butterfly that Aurelia did for herself because she loves butterflies. What I'm going to do now is flip through all the pages. I think I'm going to glue them depending on the color palette and where I think they fit the best. I have finally finished both of the signatures. Look at how beautiful the edges look. I used, the majority of these are antique and vintage laces and fabrics paired with the digital kit that's meant to look also antique and vintage. I cannot love this journal more. This journal is probably one of my favorites that I've made, and it's so much fun to create. It's actually a little bit more challenging than making a larger journal, It took me a little bit longer than I thought, but we are finally finished with the decorating. I think as of now, I'm going to be using my Artist in Blue method of creating the spine and the covers using a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. You can use a 5-hole pamphlet stitch, or you can even pass this through my sewing machine. And I might try that first, but we'll see if I'll end up sewing it by hand or sewing it with my machine. And I will be back to share with you what the finished journal will look like once the covers and the spine has been attached. I have just finished with the binding. That beautiful Victorian lace that came from this collar. I cut off a little piece of it. I've been hoarding this for years, and I wanted to add something very beautiful and special on the edge of the spine. I need to fill up the inside of the front and back cover. And the reason as to why I want it to be peeking through the back of the cover is because I want to add a little bit of ribbon, probably on the top. Do you see how it just shines beautifully when it captures the light? Adding some embossed paper also just to peek through a little. It's definitely going to give a beautiful layered look to our journal. And then as I go through it and pick and choose certain pages, like let's say this middle signature here, I can add my little dried flower. So I just cut down the little doggy snack packaging. There's going to be a little bit of Loki in this journal, which I think is really sweet. And I cut it down so that it fits perfectly inside of the front cover. Now that I have both of my inside covers, the lining to my journals made, I want to create a pocket for this one. Look at those beautiful birds. I love this paper so much. It's part of Aurelia's paper digital kit, and it blends in beautifully with the rest of the journal. It's a beautiful neutral, really elegant paper, and I want to pair it up with this fabric. Now this is Amity Bloom fabric. It's fabric that I've designed, and it's on gorgeous linen. This fabric will be available to purchase in January of 2023. I'm still working on adding more designs to the collection. For those who didn't know the news, I posted it on my Instagram. So I'm going to cut a little pocket out. So I passed my sweet little pocket through the sewing machine. I love how the colors contrast each other, and then I added that beautiful antique ribbon on the top, and then I added a piece of it on the back so that it can be seen on both sides. And then on the bottom I just attached some of the sari silk, a little piece of embossed paper, and this way when you glue it to your front cover, this will be peeking from the bottom and this will be peeking from the top. I really enjoy this layered look. If you don't like it, then you don't have to do it, of course. On the back, I didn't extend or layer anything. I just glued the piece of paper on the back, so you can do it both ways. I just love that little pop of detail. And then in the pocket, I can add my little tags or any ephemera pieces that I want to keep in there. This is so precious. All I have to do now is figure out where I want to put my little dried flower, and I think I want to put it on this page here. I have set aside some little beads and charms. This little green pearl, I've been hoarding it forever and I think I need to start using it, and I think it goes perfectly with our darling little mini Aurelia journal. I need to make a bookmark at the bottom for her, and then I will come back to share with you the full and finished flip through of our sweet little Aurelia journal that we ended up creating together. I loved being able to use like my tiny little trims. So I will definitely be back to share with you a full flip through of this entire journal. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video. Aurelia's story has been told in a notebook, super easy for any beginner, in a mini styled Victorian journal, which is perfect for those who want to create a journal but are intimidated by creating a large one. The biggest challenge has to be creating Aurelia's big journal that encompasses all of her memories and stories into one big book. So definitely stay tuned for the third part of this series where we create the biggest journal out of all of them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this series has inspired you so far, and until next time, wishing you so much peace, so much love, and an abundance of creativity. Bye-bye, and talk to you soon.